Aloha everyone, it is another night of 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, an online tiki event sponsored by the Search for Tiki, in addition to several other people. We're really excited tonight, largely because we're giving away this cocktail mug right here. This amazing cocktail mug is a gargoyle based on the Haunted Mansion. It was released through Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar, just outside of Anaheim in Disneyland. This mug was designed by Tim Woolweber and Marcus Gonzalez, I believe you say his name is. It was manufactured by Tiki Farm. These swizzle sticks actually come out. And they were made by, I always get this wrong, but I think it's Grider Adventure Art. And the little tips, they come out, they have this little thing that you can pull, and that turns on the lights to each candle. They're turned off right now to save battery power for the winner of this mug. We're gonna be announcing the winner of that mug tonight. But first, we want to chat with an amazing tiki artist who's still relatively new to the scene, Coxswain Dunsel. His actual name's Corey, but he's probably best well known for Adam Bob's. Adam Bob's, he just did a release of them this past week, and they sold out, of course, in a minute, like they have been several times. But before I bring in Corey, there were a couple announcements I wanted to make. First of all, I know a bunch of people saw that there were some fake accounts on Facebook that were creating accounts to kind of look like the Search for Tiki. They were taking our photos, posting them as the profile picture, and messaging people false information. That sucks. We do these giveaways because it brings us joy knowing that some people that were unable to obtain mugs like this, whether through financial reasons or geographical reasons, they weren't able to give it and to get it, and we were able to give, a limited number of people an opportunity to own a piece of art. So it sucks that people are doing that. Please just check that you're on the right page. If someone's messaging you, we will never ask you for your credit card information for a giveaway. So with that said, once we get Corey in here, we got a couple giveaways from our sponsors. We have this pin from the Black Lagoon Rum, who was on our show last year. We'll be giving this away. We also have this custom glass straw for the horror movie fans with a Jason mask. This is from Surfside Sips. Surfside Sips makes glass straws to help reduce plastic waste in the oceans, which is fantastic. And he adds class with glass. So if you drink a lot of cocktails, you're into the home tiki bar scene, you're gonna want some straws like this from Surfside Sips. And this is a pretty cool one to start your collection off with. So we'll be giving that away as well. Final introductory announcement. We do have a pumpkin carving contest. And if you carve a pumpkin and we like yours the best, you could win this 2-tier mug shelf made by Tiki Gonzo. And it has fabric that was designed by Shag of Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar. So that's pretty cool. And with that said, let's see if we can get Corey in here.
Hey!
What's happening, buddy?
Sorry, I gotta adjust my screen a little bit. Forgot about the whole.
Yeah, it cuts you off a little bit when you share the screen.
Yeah. How's it going?
Going really good. You're looking spooky. Yeah, the purple lights turned on.
Into a little bit more of a spooky vibe tonight. For the 13 Nights of Fright.
I love it.
So yeah.
You got the hue lights?
Yeah, they're just cheap LED lights off Amazon. They're like $10 each, and I ran the wiring behind my shelf. So you've seen probably a lot of my pictures and videos. Like that's just my wear shelf. But
yep.
I got tired of, not having a tiki space in the house. So I was like, well, as long as I keep the dust off it pretty frequently, I can have the tiki space in my working space. So it's great.
You got to stay inspired.
Absolutely.
And so for those that don't know, you're in Texas, right?
I am in Houston, Texas. Been here about 6 years now. So it's home now.
For better or worse?
Oh, yeah. I mean, every fall when hurricane season comes around, I clench and cross my fingers, but otherwise, I love the place. I love Houston and the culture here, and the people are just awesome. And I probably wouldn't be able to do what I do for my day job outside of a place like Houston.
Yeah.
So it's cool.
But now it's not just the hurricanes you have to worry about. Now you have to worry about deep freezes.
Yeah, deep freezes heading down south, and turning.
That's not so great for
Texas
ceramics.
Yeah. It's not fun. I had to replace a ton of foliage and trees after the freeze, but luckily I redid my house a year and a half ago, so all of the plumbing and everything was sound. But yeah, a lot of new nuances with living in the third coast, the Houston, Galveston, New Orleans kind of spread. But
I haven't. So I live on the East Coast, and I've done all the tiki bars in California, and I've been to Hawaii. But I know there's a tiki scene in Texas. I haven't seen it yet. What's it like?
It's growing. The OG scene has faded a little and come and gone. Lalo's like one of the OG places probably around, and one of my favorite tiki bars in general.
That was your first tiki bar, right?
Yeah, it was my first tiki bar. And it's literally like a mile away from me, so it's dangerous.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we have Lalo, and there's a lot of new bars growing around Texas. We have Hugman's Oasis that opened up in San Antonio last year.
How long has that been open?
I think only like 6-7 months. Someone might be able to correct me on that. I haven't been up that way. I have some friends in San Antonio, but I just haven't made the trip yet. And then I think we had Tiki Tatsuya, which is owned by a first ramen restaurant that's phenomenal. If you can have ramen and love ramen, check out Ramen Tatsuya. But they just opened a tiki bar in Austin that is phenomenal.
So you've been?
I haven't been, but it's one of those bars, like when Zombie Village opened, or Pagan Idol, or when Tiki Diablo reopened Undertow. You're just like, oh, this is perfect. Like everything is done just so well. And
I had not heard anything, and then all of a sudden I saw these mugs, and obviously, I'm very aware of the mugs that are being released because I'm the Search for Tiki,
right?
And there were all of a sudden 8 mugs that I had never seen before in my life, and they all came from that new tiki bar.
It was kind of shocking. Like they didn't press release anything about it. It was just like, we have all these mugs now.
It just did you know the restaurant was coming, or was it just like,
yeah,
here we are?
It's been local lore probably for like a year and a half of them working on it. But with COVID and everything, things quieted down. So I didn't see it. I'm not living in Austin, so maybe people who are actually on the scene were able to scope it out and follow along. But when it opened, I was shocked and awed.
Is it attached to the ramen place you were talking about, or is it a separate building?
It's a standalone, and it looks like they have like a ton of food as well. So it's more traditional tiki in that vibe. 50s, you get your food, and it's owned by the ramen place. I can't remember the chef's name. He's a super famous guy, Japanese, very authentic food. Him and his partners created the menu to be very tiki meets true Japan in that time and the Orient. So they actually have a lot of stuff that are served in ceramic mugs and have like a volcano bowl with like the hot sauce in it for wings and stuff like that. It just looks really well put together. I might be hyping it up for nothing, but
there's only one way to find out.
I know. I just have to make the drive. It's only an hour and a half. But I gotta find time.
Hey, if I can fly, you can drive.
Right.
You can do it. You gotta scope it out for all of us.
I will. I'll report back.
You mentioned your job earlier. So you appraise airplanes?
That's correct. Yeah. So
how does one get into that?
Great question. So outside of college, I got a job working for a charter company, doing sales, marketing,
Yep.
and kind of the analytics behind chartering private planes, which was super cool. And then my buddy and I, we took this idea of starting a brokerage company because we saw so many transactions in the aviation realm were just handled by people who didn't know anything.
Yep.
We're like, we're young, we can figure it out, and provide more expertise than these people are, and provide a standard. So we went out and did that, and focused primarily on brokerage for a long time, 3 or 4 years, and then about a year and a half ago, we both went out and got our appraisal designation through the American Society of Appraisers, which
Okay.
actually I'm going to a conference tomorrow in Las Vegas for the appraisal conference.
And that's appraisals of anything, or
Yeah.
specifically?
So the organization covers many demographics and equipment. You have machinery and technical specialties, you have fine art, you have real property, and then you have subsections. Oh, you also have business valuation. There's a lot to it, and there's different sections underneath each one. So I'm in aircraft underneath machinery and technical specialties, and there's an adjacent one for yacht appraisals, which might be next. It's the most relevant to aircraft.
Yeah.
And if it flies and if it floats, they're pretty similar in that they cost a lot to own, and what's going to wear and whatnot. So it's fun. So that's my.
Do you have to travel a lot for that?
Used to pre-COVID. Nowadays, it's almost better. I don't have to leave my house most of the time, and I just get the work sent to me. I have all of the spec sheets and data that I need to look over, photos and whatnot, and I do it from.
So you don't necessarily have to look at the planes in person.
It depends on the use of the appraisal itself. Like if it's just someone wants to know what it's worth for negotiating value, or the bank is re-upping for refinancing on an aircraft, and they just need, they have the asset already and whatnot, and they don't need a full-blown appraisal. They just need to know what it's at today, which is a lot of what we do. And on the financing side, when someone's acquiring a plane, sometimes banks will prefer in person, but most of the time they prefer desktop because it saves them a lot of money and time, and they close faster. So
that's what it's all about, getting those new planes.
Yeah,
you don't want to wait.
It's a fun world. It's wild, but people ask all the time, like, why don't you just do Tiki full time, or expand more in that? And I'm just not built like that to do one thing all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have two different worlds or multiple worlds in which you can, utilize your brain and your skills and, keep it fun.
It's very different though. So we were talking with Woody Miller last night, and Woody Miller is like, I carve tikis, I make tiki mugs, I paint tikis, and it's all kind of in the tiki realm. And then you're appraising airplanes, which is very cool, but not necessarily something I would think would go to ceramics. So how did you go from appraising planes to making tiki mugs?
So going back to like Lalo and my first introduction to tiki, like most people probably go to a tiki bar for the first time and you're blown away by the decor and just the experience. It's all an experience and adventure. But I was just blown away by something that you can create, that's art that you can utilize and drink out of and have an experience from. I did a lot of art in high school and whatnot, but I always got burnt out because I was like, it's, going to go on a wall and I don't really want it on my wall. So it ends up in the trash. But I just thought it was so cool that you could have something that evokes emotion or a memory, or, not even a memory, maybe something that's dreamt up, fantasy, which I think is just so fun to create that escape for someone, no matter if their home is decked out as a tiki bar or, they live in a boat or whatever their life is like, you can provide that escape. So from that moment, I obsessed, and I wanted to create. Where is he?
Was it show and tell time?
Yeah.
By the way, I like that shirt.
Thank you. Another thing I obsessed about and made. It's my Onsen Aloha shirts made of 100% bamboo, super soft. But this guy
Oh, okay. So Smeagol,
the first mug I made.
Is that the very first one?
This is the very first one, and it's so thick. It has string in there, but it's like literally half an inch thick. It's ridiculous. But that was my first casting ever, and it still didn't explode. Knock on wood, I've never had a piece explode in the kiln, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Yet.
Yeah.
You just jinxed yourself.
I know, I probably did. But
so I've seen the Smeagol mug, but I saw it as like a shrunken Smeagol, I believe.
Yeah, I have that guy. One of them up here. My netting. This one was when I learned about glaze defects and crazing on the inside.
Okay.
I believe in trial by fire when it comes to learning. I mean, you just got to experiment as much as you can. And this one, the clear glaze on the inside, did not fit the body. So
how fitting that Smeagol would have trial by fire.
Yeah. It's a good lesson to learn, and I get to keep them around, which is kind of nice. I only made, I think, 12 of the Smeagols or Gollum mugs.
Okay.
And I tried to remake the mold, and I did, but it was just time to retire the mug. The mold was too hard to work with, and there was too much cleanup on it. So I was like, yep. I'm gonna go on to something else and try my hand at another mug to make. So yeah, just kind of that obsessive compulsion. No one else did like a Lord of the Rings thing, and I think I was listening through the audiobooks again. So I was like, okay, I want to kind of mold and mend these two worlds together of Tiki and Tolkien.
There's that fantasy you were talking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So recently you shared on Instagram Lord of the Bobs. How's that coming?
Pretty good.
Yes.
So
originally when you made that, you didn't intend to make a bunch of them, right?
Right. This was a project that I sat down on Memorial Day, and I was like, I want to make a, Lord of the Rings, Lord of the Bobs mug. But it was going to be too complex with undercuts.
Yep.
These horns, these side pieces to mold and mass produce. So I was like, I'm just going to make it for me and be the one Bob to roll them all. And then I learned another lesson in ceramics, which is, for a long time up until that point, I've been slip casting, and I don't do a lot of hand builds. So I hand built with a new clay that I've never used, and fired it with a new glaze that I've never used with that clay. And the glaze on the inside of it, crawled. So it shivered more so. So there's a chance that shards of glass would be,
just what you want in your tiki cocktails.
Right.
A navy grog with a little side of glass. That sounds wonderful.
It's got a bite to it. Send me to the hospital.
Is that what those skulls on the menu mean when you get 5 skulls?
Right. How many pieces of glass that are in your cocktail? Yeah. So
what changed? What made you go from this is going to be just a single mug to I'm making Lord of the Bobs?
One was the fact that I couldn't use it still. I was just so upset that the sculpt that I loved it. And I got a lot of great feedback from a lot of my supporters and, frequent purchasers and people out of the blue who are like, I want this mug. Like, I don't care if it doesn't hold liquid. It's a statue. I'll still do it. And I decided at that point that it was worth pursuing trying to make a mold out of it to produce some. So I got the original right here that I had to spend probably a few days re-adding clay to.
So the one you were just drinking out of, obviously, because you don't like the shards of glass, that was not the original.
That is not the original. Yeah, so this is the original sit back, and this is the casting. And the original is pretty massive, honestly. I mean, even the cast, I think, is, let's see.
Have you measured how many ounces it holds?
I did, just before I hopped on when I made this cocktail, which is 151 Swizzle. It holds 17 ounces of straight liquid, so I held the swizzle perfect. So I think that's a 12-ounce drink, 6 ounces of ice, or something like that.
Yep.
So
your standard Mai Tai glass is like 15 ounces, so that's perfect.
Yeah, it's really shocking. I thought like the bell at the bottom where the stone would be would cause too much of a cavity for play or for a drink, but it's honestly perfect. So yeah, this is the artist proof. Like the first one, I cast it, I think last Friday, and then I've been rushing to try to get this done in time for today, just to show it off.
Show it off.
Yeah,
I love it, man.
So I have all the.
Can you hold it up close so we can kind of get a?
So he's a little icy. It's got some condensation on it as well. So this is a matte black, and I haven't put the detailing on the back. It says the Lord of the Bobs.
Okay.
But, I think on the run that I'm gonna do it all with real gold. So I'll fire it again with gold and the Lord of the Bobs. So it's kind of like the opening movie logo, and that, and then tons of detailing on the back. You can see all the different buildings and whatnot that comprises the tower, all the turrets, so cool. And this stone section on the bottom that's like the outcropping of rock and another, castle-like section.
Did you have a hard time? So I've heard from other mug makers that make bobs that the mouth is really difficult to do. Did you have a hard time with the mouth, or you were just like, well, bam, ordered bobs?
I don't think I had a hard time with the mouth. I think that the shape of the oval was the hardest part, because there's a lot of ways that you can make that little half heart oval look weird, especially with the shape of a mug. Like this is a very cylindrical mug, but there's a lot of bowing from the contours of the turrets on the side and whatnot, so it kind of bows out the face a little. But working with that was the hard part. I think the bob face to me always like has this just derpy look to the mouth, and it's almost like a Simpsons / I can't even remember that show. Simpsons-esque on the downturn of the mouth, and it comes sharply back in. So it wasn't too hard. Like on the Atom Bob, that was where I got all my real practice. Like this is the OG size Atom Bob.
So this is another example. So now you're making a trend of it.
Right.
Where you do a gigantic mug, and then sometime down the road, you're like, this is maybe a little too big. I'm going to make a smaller version.
Yeah, I think this one held like 70-something ounces, 80-something ounces.
Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
How many of the OG Bobs did you make?
I think I have a list of it, and that's how I keep track of like all my Atom Bobs and how many I've done of each type. But I think I only made like 20 of the OG size ones. Those were some of my favorite too, because there's like the wood grain ones in that batch. A lot of lavas. I spent a lot of time on those, and they're a lot longer and more intensive to clean up because of the size.
So what was the deciding factor for you to go from OG Bob to normal size? I can actually hold this and consume this amount of alcohol, Bob.
I think I realized most people don't want to drink that much on a daily.
Or can't.
Yeah.
Or shouldn't.
Yeah, unless you're filling it up with water and that's your water jug for the day, but then you might get some weird looks. But yeah, I wanted it to be more usable, and I like carving big mugs. I think it's just fun. You can fit so much detail in a large space. I'm sure you've heard a lot of people say the opposite too of, it's fun to try to shrink down a mug, but I think it's fun to shrink down a mug after the fact. So
in the case of Adam Bob,
yeah.
Did you resculpt it, or did you make a mold of an Adam Bob?
So I recast it as an Adam Bob, and then cleaned it up and made a mold of an Adam Bob, and re-sculpted the lid to fit on it. But the overall shape was just from an original mug, just like the Lord of the Bobs is, from this original mug I made. I just added clay to clean it up and whatnot. Which, by the way, that's the gold. It kind of looks crappy because I have all this plaster all over it, but that's how the gold will look in the end.
This is completely unrelated, but there's a rumor out there that I can put to rest right now that kind of coincides with this. So okay. Trader Sam's, Enchanted Tiki Bar, and Grotto, they have shrunken zombie head mugs. The first edition and the second edition, they're larger, and I believe the third edition is where they get smaller. Yeah. And the rumor was that they lost the mold and that they recast it from the original mugs. I guess that's not true. I guess what happened is the molds that they have, the silicone, I guess, I'm not entirely sure of the science behind it, but that can actually lose substance and shrink over time.
Huh.
And that happened because it had been so long, and that's why those mugs are smaller. What
was the spread of the mugs? How many years were they apart? I don't even know.
I think it was maybe a couple of years. It was nothing crazy.
Huh.
But
that is crazy.
Yeah, so for anyone watching who's a Trader Sam's fan, now you know that is a myth. It's not real. I got that from the source. So
nice.
Yeah. But back to the Bobs, the gold luster. How do you do that? Because that's applied differently than a typical glaze, right?
Correct. Yeah. So after everything has been fired, it's at its final temperature, and I work in stoneware, so it's firing to cone 6. I just like the weight of it, and it's heavy duty, in my opinion. So after it's all fired and settled, I'll come back, clean up the area that I need to apply a luster to. And Van Tiki made a great video of this. I'm sure everyone gives a shout out to Van Tiki, but his video
every night
videos are critical for anyone wanting to learn tiki mug making or mug making in general. They're critical, and he has a great one on gold lusters for his volcanic vapors. But so you clean it up with alcohol, make sure your surface is clean, and then just with a fine paintbrush, and the little thing of gold is literally this big, and it costs $50. It is ridiculously tiny, and it's literally just resin with real liquid gold floating in it, essentially. And you paint it on like you would a paint, and then you refire it at a lower temperature than your final product is at. It's, I think, cone 11 or 14. I can't remember. But yeah, once it's fired, it'll be brilliant gold or kind of a soft gold, depending on if it's a glossy surface that it's on or a matte surface.
I remember Henrik saying that. It's entirely dependent on what it's on top, which is weird to me, but
it's very
science for you, right?
Yeah, I would never think they would change based on that. Gold is gold in my mind, but it's a super cool thing.
How nervous were you when you bought your first tiny eyedropper $50 bottle of golden glaze for your mugs, or you didn't care?
I was a little nervous. It's $50. It's still not cheap to waste money on and then a mug on. But after I got it, it's just been so fun to play around with certain things. Like on the Faceless Bastards, I had a small run of 10 of them that had gold on the face, kind of playing into, in Spirited Away. This is based off of, Miyazaki's Spirited Away and No Face. His thing that he tries to get everyone with is greed. So he brings gold because he adopts the personality of the planet that he's in. So it's fun to use it where it's applicable, in my opinion.
Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke, if I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
How big a Ghibli fan are you? Scale of 1 to 10.
I would say probably. I feel like it's rude to say anything less than 10, but
There are people that are pretty into it.
yeah,
I'm not asking
love
like
his
the
work.
quality, just
Yeah.
like your level of excitement.
I would say a 7. I love his work, and I think it's brilliant. I don't love all of his movies, and I'm not going to obsess about all of them, but I think there are some that have just too many kind of nuances that can be included in Tiki that I want to play off of. So like, No Face as a suffering bastard, I thought that was kind of critical or a perfect match of character.
It is. I never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
I never would have made that connection. But you're right. It works extremely well.
And then the Mononoke is kind of the same thing, tying into Princess Mononoke is all about nature and, protecting Mother Nature, Mother Earth from, the, mining and destruction from man. So tying that into a coconut and, the use of a coconut in tiki bars, and it's the classic tiki mug, or one of the classic tiki mugs.
It's hard. It is hard to make a coconut that feels original.
Yeah.
But looking at that mug, it's perfect.
Thank you.
I'm excited. When is it coming out?
That one, I wanted that one to be next, but I think the Lord of the Bobs will be next.
Okay.
Just based on, I have like 10 gallons of silicone that I have to go through, which won't be enough to do both. And I have to figure out the math and how to make a mold of a silicone mold of circular molds. I kind of goofed up and made a circular mold for the Mononoke, which I've never made a circular mold. And then after the fact, I'm like, I have to make a square mold of a circle mold now. And this is, and I'm going to waste a lot of silicone here. So I need to figure out how to do that. So I'll do the Lord of the Bobs first, and then the Mononoke will probably come out in the early spring, I would hope. And I'm going to do a whole bunch of them, but I'll do a pre-sale probably before the holidays. And if the timing works out, I might be able to get a good amount of them out before the holidays, but it just depends. The end of the year is super busy for my actual company. I have the Mononoke where, stupid. Here we are. So this is the first casting of the Mononoke, and I have not glazed it yet. I haven't had the time. This one was still drying, so I couldn't fire it with the Lord of the Bobs. And it's kind of hard to see. It's washed out.
It's so perfect, man. And it's crazy. Like it's such a simplistic design, and yet it feels so different than anything I've ever seen. So
thank you. That really means a lot to me, because it is hard to make a coconut mug that is different from most coconuts. So I'm really excited for this one. I think it's going to be a great sharer or sipper. I always find coconut mugs to be super large, and I have to like almost double most recipes to fit. So
yeah,
it's exciting. And then I have the little test piece right here that I did for the glazes. So this is what I'm working with so far. These are all 3 different sections.
So do you have like test tiles that you use?
I do. This one I just used a lid of an Adabob that I had lying around.
Okay.
I didn't have a test tile that was dry. But that's kind of one of the great things about having just dry or green clay lying around, so you can carve it up and test it if you're not worried about, saving the piece. So probably some combination of these, play around with it a little bit. So it's going to be kind of tan, nutmeggy brown overall with the red on the face and the white detailing. And then I have to find a kind of milky coconut meat looking white glaze for the inside and the rim on the top. So I'm excited about that one. I'm also excited that the glaze came out that well on the first try. So it shouldn't take me but 2 or 3 artist proofs that I'll make before I can have a final glaze to share with everyone.
Until you glaze like 30 of them, and then you fire them and it comes out something totally different.
Oh, 100%. It's inevitable. You're like, oh, wow, there must have been a Photoshop error or something.
Sometimes it works in your favor, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah. That's, why everyone says you pray to the kiln gods that it comes out okay.
Yep.
That's my whole thing. It hasn't been explosions, but I have had some weird colors come out, and I'm like, that wasn't quite right. But it's fun whenever you work with underglazes. Like, I work in a lot of underglazes, which I don't know if everyone knows what the difference is. I don't want to get into a huge spiel, but essentially underglaze will stay predominantly the color that is on the bottle, where a lot of glazes will change color after the fact, especially if it interacts with another glaze. So those are more fickle and can do some really crazy things. But I really like using underglazes because you can paint them on and pretty much it stays about the same as long as you test beforehand and make sure they, interact and layer okay.
I think that's a secret for a lot of mug people, because a lot of mug people don't realize that when they're first starting out.
Oh, yeah.
And then eventually, after like 2 years of struggling, someone else will be like, dude, why aren't you using underglazes? And then it just like clicks.
Yeah, 100%. I had a lot of frustrations when I learned about underglaze. I was like, really? All this time?
I've been doing this whole time.
Come on. So, yeah, I try to point that out. Like, as soon as anyone's getting into mug making, I'm like, listen, it's great. Glazes are great. If you love the science behind it, dive on in. But if you were trying to get the right color and whatnot, use an underglaze. 100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Intermission for a giveaway, a pin giveaway. This pin is from the Black Lagoon room. It's Never Sleep Again. It's got a little Freddy Krueger for horror movie fans in there. I'm going to ask a question. The first person to answer it correctly in the comments will get this pin. And the question is, specifically for horror movie fans, the original 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street was written and directed by what famous director? So if you know the answer to that, pop it in the comments and you will win this pin. Before we get too far away from Faceless Bastard, what was the first movie that you saw? Ghibli movie?
It was Spirited Away. Yeah, that was my first Ghibli movie. I remember watching that when I was probably, 13 or 14.
Yep.
And just being like, what's going on? But also super stoked about it all.
I think that was the first movie I can remember. So we had like a local rental store. It was called Rockies or something weird. And they had 5 movies for 5 days for $5. That was the spiel, okay?
That's
so
a good
every
deal.
Friday, as a family, we'd all go. We could each pick out our own movie, and it would only cost $5 for everyone. And I remember watching Spirited Away, and it was like unlike anything I had ever seen before. And I can't recall any other movie where I instantly after the movie, I was like, I need to watch that again. 100%. I sat down and I just rewatched the whole movie. It is absolutely bonkers.
I tell everyone that, a lot of my friends have never heard of Spirited Away or Ghibli movies, and, I'll show them the mug and I'm like, you have to watch it. I don't care if you like anime, if you like cartoons, if you like kids movies or coming of age movies, whatever. Go watch this movie, and everyone's like, I don't know what was going on for half of it.
Yeah.
But it is incredible for something that came out in the 90s or late 80s. I can't remember when it came out. But
I want to say the 90s. But yeah, it's crazy. I remember when Roger Ebert was still alive, he wrote a review of it in his like Great Movies book. He was basically saying like you can take a still shot anywhere in that movie, and it is like its own gorgeous piece of art.
100%.
And you're looking at a piece of water, a boring piece of water, just like a pond or something, but there'll be like little intricacies and coins and all kinds of crazy stuff. So I'm a big fan of that movie. The Faceless Bastard is cool. Is that your favorite Ghibli movie?
It's probably, it probably has to be. I think my top 3 are hard to separate, but it's Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, and Howl's Moving Castle. I think those are my my go-to. I mean, I refer to my killing as Calcifer, and
Okay.
you know, but I've played around with that idea of a mug as well. We'll see, but I
A
think
calcifer kiln mug?
yeah, something like that. But I don't want to like be too similar to Van Tiki's kiln mug or anything. So
Yeah, because you did the kiln god, which is another next level mug.
oh yeah, fantastic mug. The lid on that is so cool too. The fact that it, is like a kiln lid, it's on fire and it's angled just right. Yeah.
Lead to Henrik.
I can geek out about Henrik's work for days. But yeah, I don't know how many Ghibli mugs I'll do. Probably just these two for now. Maybe something else in the future, but I have some other work on the back burner I need to get to, and I have a few sculpts that are off camera that I can't show, and whatnot. But
okay, let me announce the winner here of
yeah.
the pin, and then I got more questions for you. So once again, the Never Sleep Again Freddy Krueger pin from the Black Lagoon room. The correct answer was Wes Craven. He wrote and directed the original 1984 Nightmare on Elm Street film. And the first person to guess was Jessica.A.Mahone. So congratulations. Feel free to send us a message if you want. Otherwise, we'll send you a message to get a pin.
Nice.
Bobs.
Yeah.
So you made Adam Bob. You're making Lord of the Bobs. Do you have a thing for Bob? Because there's two distinct groups of people, right? So I'm assuming you're in the pro Tiki Bob. And then there's the I can't stand Tiki Bob. Why are so many people making mugs about Tiki Bob? How did you become a fan of Tiki Bob?
I love Tiki Bob for, it doesn't step on anyone's toes, I think. It's just a great little face that you can apply to almost anything. And, he's almost, in my opinion, like a spokesperson for Tiki without having to be a Tiki. So it's like one of the mugs that can cross so many borders. You can apply a Bob face to, almost any inanimate object and make it a statement, referring back to like Kichi Tiki or, the heyday of Tiki, and it's fun. I don't have any of the original Bobs. I wish I had one of the San Francisco Bobs, but before I actually made the Adam Bob, I don't think I had any, and never really thought about having Bobs around. But I don't like to carve, or won't carve, like actual Tiki mugs, so I thought it was a great mug or idea to apply to mugs, and it worked, in my opinion, perfectly for the Adam Bob.
Tiki Bob's awesome because he's kind of like, he's in that original canon of Tikis without actually being a Tiki, because obviously there's two types of Tikis, which goes to Adam Bob. There's the Tiki for people that are just they're just getting into Tiki. There's the original Tiki, which is in Polynesia, Hawaii. They're carvings of deities.
Right.
They're basically sacred, and it's kind of weird to be carving mugs of them and putting them in cocktail bars. There's a lot of questions and debate about that. But then there's the soldiers in World War II. They go to the Pacific, and then they miss the Pacific, and so we make Tikis, and that's Tiki Bob in San Francisco.
Right.
So it's kind of cool that we have Tiki Bob that every artist can just like riff on. And it's this one character that's central to Tiki history that has nothing to do with Polynesian history, gods, any of that stuff, but it's still canon. Everybody loves it or they hate it. And people can just riff on it. So I think that's very cool. Have you been to San Francisco? Have you seen the original Bob?
I have.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool to see it, but it's not like crazy or anything.
No, it's like I don't remember what it's like, Honey Bees or something. It's like some weird like pastry shop or something now, but he's still there.
It's like pastel blue, and it's just chilling on the corner. You're like, heck yeah, you've made a long time, buddy.
And there's like hundreds of people passing on the intersection that could give not a care in the world that there's this weird pillar in the middle of San Francisco, and we just go to it and we're like, Tiki Bar.
Right. It's like Mecca. Everyone's like, must see it. That I think isn't Trader Vic's one of the Trader Vic's. I can't remember if it's the original or one of them is in an alley or off an alleyway in San Francisco. I didn't find that when I was there, but I did find the Tiki Bar.
Yeah, I think there's one that's closed, and there's Trader Vic's in Emeryville. I'm probably slaughtering the name of that. But outside of San Francisco, across the bridge.
Gotcha.
But yeah, do you have a favorite tiki bar?
That's a hard one. I love Lalo, because they introduced me to tiki, and the bartenders are rad, and the drinks are always great. If I had to pick outside, I think Undertow is probably up there right now for me. I just went after they reopened about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago, and I was just blown away. It rivals Disney with its animation and all of the scenes and scenery changing. Drinks were pretty solid, a little expensive, but pretty solid. And
you're paying for the experience, right?
Yeah, it was such a unique experience for a tiki bar.
I love how it's like they took the time to make authentic stuff for the bar, right? They hired Tiki Diablo, the master of his craft, to do these elaborate hand-carved tikis the old-fashioned way, and then they put like projection diving windows in it, and it's just like the perfect fusion of old and new to make a really crazy experience.
100%. There's not a lot of places like that.
Nope. Now they're opening another one.
Really?
You heard, but yeah, it sounds like they're trying to turn Undertow into a franchise. So they have another one that's going, I think it's south, maybe 30 minutes south.
Okay.
I don't think they've announced an opening date yet, but they're working on another location, so.
Wow.
Who knows? Maybe someday there'll be an Undertow in Phoenix. I mean, there is an Undertow in Phoenix in Texas.
And now that would be cool. That would be cool. As long as they keep the quality where it is, I have no qualms. Easier to get a reservation because they have I think it's like an hour and a half maximum that you can be in there.
Yeah, it's 90 minutes. And like other bars say that, but when Undertow says 90 minutes, it's like.
Oh, yeah. They're literally turning shit.
90 minutes, you're outside.
Yeah. And that whole experience is pretty cool too. The other bars in there and whatnot. If you haven't been, you have to go check it out. It's definitely worth checking out.
Definitely in the top 5 tiki bars, in my opinion. Undertow in Phoenix.
What's your favorite tiki bar? Putting you on the spot.
Do I have to choose one? Could it be like 5?
Ooh.
Or is that a cop out? That's probably a cop out.
3 is okay.
Well, we've already talked about Undertow. Trader Sam's Enchanted Tiki Bar was my first bar, so that's got to be in it. But I will give you one answer. It's like the quintessential answer for me. It's got to be Smuggler's Cove.
Oh, yeah.
Smuggler's Cove is like, that's my bar. I went there recently. I had been there before the pandemic for the Chinese New Year in San Francisco. We were in the Chinese New Year, and then it was like COVID, go home, never see anyone again. Then, like a year and a half, 2 years later, I got to go back to Smuggler's Cove. My experience was, I'm waiting outside Smuggler's Cove. The exact same patrons were outside, waiting in line that had been there 2 years ago. I go into Smuggler's Cove, and they had the exact same staff. They made the cocktails the exact same way. It was entirely the same experience as I had been 2 years before, down to the same people sitting at the same seats in the same bar. And there's something about that I love because it's just so consistent.
Yeah.
You go to some tiki bars and like one person will make a drink and then another person makes a drink and it's not the same.
Yeah.
Depending on your preference, it's going to be one or the other. And then you go to Smuggler's Cove and it's just like 100% A game all the time.
100%.
So Smuggler's Cove, that's my answer.
It's hard to beat that.
So I'm going to ask you a question. And no cop-outs. Okay. You got to pick one. You've made a lot of Adam Bobs. Which Adam Bob is your favorite?
I have made a lot of Adam Bobs. Probably one of the ones in the last batch. I'm pretty partial to the pinup / nose art one that I made of the desert rose. I think that one was my favorite. Just how it turned out with the like desert sunset, the pinup right in front of it, the script, and then like pictures don't do it justice. There's so much rust and patina that come through that's, you know, just hours of work put into it that when you're holding it, you're like, oh my God, like this is so cool. It's one of the few, I keep most of my mugs, like ones I'm not using, either put away in a cabinet or, you know, defects in here. But that was one of the ones that I was like, I'll put this out on a shelf and display it. It was pretty.
That's going to be like,
cool.
That's going to be a Grail mug for so many people, because there's Adam Bob, and it's a fantastic idea, but then you put like a pinup on it, and it's just like, it speaks so well to the design of the mug. It's like next level. Do you think you're going to have buyers, not buyers, sellers remorse?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, this one's hard to get rid of. But I know it'll just sit around and that someone else can love it way more than I do. Because, you know, I'm also a collector. I have probably, I don't know, 70 mugs or so. And, you know, I don't show them off a lot, but I pull them out for anytime someone comes over. I'm known as the mixologist of the group. I'll make cocktails and put them in all of these different mugs, from Van Tiki, Monk Tiki, Tiki
Are you a closet collector?
Crazy Owl. Yeah, I've been collecting for like probably 6-7 years. I have some Grail mugs that I love. There's a few that I'm still looking for, but as far as like my work out there, I don't know. I don't want it to take center stage. I know how it feels to open a mug that you've been wanting for so long, and I just want to like be able to provide that. I'd feel so selfish if I kept a perfectly good
all the best mugs.
Yeah, like I have one sitting right here that I've kept from this last batch, but it's because I need the pin up on it turned out a little too faded, so I'm gonna go back and modify it, make it way more glorious, and then it'll be in with the next batch. But other than that, I don't have anything laying around that's, you know, not broken or unusable.
You said something beautiful. You said the next batch.
The next batch, yeah.
That means there are more Adam Bobs on the way?
There are. I don't have any cast yet, but I will have some more, probably another batch of 25 or so. I think that's kind of my sweet spot for packing and whatnot.
Yeah. It
takes like a full day of packing up 25 mugs, and I don't want to be packing for multiple days, you know, disrupting my life. I know that's so selfish, but it also takes a long time to just put out 25.
It's those things that people don't necessarily see, you know.
Yeah.
The unglamorous side of making mugs that's never posted to Instagram.
Right. I could post it, but I think people would get bored really quickly. Just hours.
Stack the boxes and packing peanuts.
Yeah. They're all over there and, you know, waiting for their next trip. But yeah, it's not too glorious, that side of making mugs.
Someone just asked, Christine _ Esquire? I don't know. What mug is on your Grail list?
Ooh. My all-time Grail probably has to be the, I think it's called the Deep Diver. Van Tiki's Deep Diver, the 2-piece mug. I don't know if it was like that sought after, but every time I've tried to get one on eBay or whenever they popped up, like they'll be gone in an instant for like $600. It's like a little.
Is it the guy in the scuba suit?
Yeah. It's
okay.
Like the scuba suit with the removable head, but like the one with chrome and like the brown trousers. It's like so. To me, it's like so Scooby-Doo-ish, and I just love it.
Yep.
So classic. That's probably got to be one of my Grails, if not my top Grail. Yeah. Probably not everyone's Grail. I don't think everyone's like crazy about that.
I think plenty of people are, based on how many are available.
Yeah.
People aren't letting them go. So.
No. And we're all incredibly grateful for you for like taking on this of creating a database again after like Ooga Mooga went offline, and we used to have like for everyone who isn't in Tiki now and didn't experience that, that was the best website. That and Tiki Central, like they were so good for that time and getting the right intel on like when mugs were transacting and how much for and where and whatnot. And as an appraiser, I'm like salivating at that.
Yep. There's so much information.
So much.
That's lost.
But
there are particularly, I mean, you look at some of the stuff that Gecko has made.
Oh yeah.
Like on the Search for Tiki, obviously it's my website, so it's my baby, and I'm like passionate about it. But we're missing a ton of Gecko mugs, which is sad because it's like a whole period of Tiki history that's missing. So if anyone is watching and you have Gecko mugs, please upload Gecko mugs.
Yeah.
Wendy is another one. Civola. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. But she's another one that's done amazing mugs.
So.
Those
two were critical for like me learning ceramics too. Like Wendy's posts on Tiki Central, it's like 700 and something pages of how she makes ceramics and Tiki Bar.
She does like blow by blow.
Oh
like,
yeah.
103 photos, and every single one has a description on it of exactly what she did.
100%. I'm like, how do you make work and still do this? Like I would spend hours just doing the writing portion and hardly get anything done. But so many people beyond myself are very grateful for her and her experience that she's given through there. But you're doing excellent work and making a new database for us all to salivate at new work and existing work that will probably resurface, like Gecko's. His work is so cool. That's another Grail of mine, is probably anything from his like sunken treasures or some seas stuff. Just
I'm still looking for a cursed Kona.
A cursed
Kona.
I
want a cursed Kona from Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
I messaged him and he said that he like still makes them, but he doesn't like actively make them. So I'm just waiting and hoping that someday Gecko will make another cursed Kona.
Right.
But with that said, time for another giveaway.
Nice.
This Surfside Sips straw with the Jason mask here. This is a question for Surfside Sips fans. The first person to comment the correct answer in the comments will win this straw as we near the end of the show. The question is, fill in the blank. It is one of the slogans of Surfside Sips. Add blank with glass. So fill in the blank. What is the blank? Add blank with glass. And you will win this straw. I'll try to watch the comments here.
That's such a cool straw, too. Friday, or Jason Voorhees? I don't know how you say his last name. I probably should. It's very popular.
So the first person that answered was right. Class. Add class with glass with Surfside Sips. And the first person to type it was Zero Proof Love. So congratulations, Zero Proof Love. You are getting a Surfside Sips straw.
Super cool.
And then we're nearing the end of this, buddy, but I have to ask you a question.
Yeah.
Your name, Coxswain Dunsel. It's the Captain of Nothing. What's the story behind the name?
I don't know. At first, I thought I was going to go by an alias or something because I didn't want to make it like a full-time gig.
Yep.
But, when I was picking a name, I gravitated towards one of my initials. My name's Corey DeWitt, so CD was kind of fun to keep in there. And my whole name is made of last names, but there's so much meaning to Coxswain Dunsel to me. Like Captain of Nothing, it's forgotten Old English words. Coxswain is a captain, but lesser captain. Wouldn't be the actual captain on a ship. Maybe like a mate. And Dunstall is like a part of a ship that is useless.
Why is that even a word? Space is such a premium on a ship. Why would you create a space on a ship that
probably just to yell at like first mate or someone who's doing something pointless? You're grabbing the Dunstall, do something else. So I just thought they were were perfect words that went together. They were kind of forgotten, and they would stick in people's minds when they thought of, you know, my name. I don't know. It was just fun. I think the name was just fun to me, and it made sense at the time. But people call me Corey, right, most of the time. But if you see my art, it's always going to be labeled Coxswain Dunsel, Captain.
Coxswain Dunsel. Yep. Those are, so obviously running the website, I get a lot of emails, and I get emails. What is Coxswain Dunsel? And I get emails of when are the next Adam Bobs coming out because I missed them again.
Yeah.
That's one of the unfortunate things, I think, of being a ceramic mug maker that does small batch ceramics right now is it is impossible not to disappoint some people because there's just not enough time in the day to give the level of detail to a mug that people have come to expect from a small batch manufacturer like yourself.
100%.
So, hopefully people are understanding. Hopefully you're not getting those nasty messages.
No.
Please, for anyone watching, don't send Corey nasty messages that you didn't get an Adam Bob because obviously he's trying.
No, people are very supportive, and I'm incredibly grateful for the community of those who support me and acknowledge several workers who are also small batch workers and are artists and know that, you know, the amount of detail and time that goes into a piece and how many you can produce is inevitably on a sliding scale. So yeah, I don't get a ton of blowback, thankfully.
Perfect. Are you getting like artist fatigue with the Adam Bobs, or are you still like, I got more ideas?
I don't get artist fatigue with it. I think the most of any style of Adam Bob is maybe 7 or 10 total. So like the army green or, you know, the atomic yellow, like certain variants might have 7.
Which those called for it because I mean, it just makes sense.
100%. But I think there are so many nuances and kind of satirical plays that you can do on the Adam Bob that just made it a perfect canvas for me. Like, it's just a fun mug. Like the dinosaur one that I did, Dino Fusion. Like,
I just saw someone posted that on Facebook.
It's so fun. It's so wild. I mean, you can think about things all day and, you know, not be able to draw lines, but I think one of my favorite things is just be able to have that blank canvas and be like, what story can I tell with it on the Adam Bob that's different, but still in the same realm of, you know, what if nuclear bombs ended the dinosaurs or caused them to fuse, or like what nuances nuclear energy has in today's society, referring to the past. So it's a lot of fun to explore that. And sometimes I get in my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm like a pop artist. I get to play around with all these big concepts and make them into small pieces. But it's just super fun. I haven't grown bored of it yet on the Adam Bobs.
How does that work from a ceramics perspective? So like your dinosaur one, it's got like the decals of all the different dinosaurs that are you able to just like take a photo and print it on a piece of material and apply it, or how does that process work?
I wish there are methods to do that, but it would be more time consuming. What I did on that specific one, a lot of them I hand paint, but that one I did underglazed transfers of dinosaurs. And for every dinosaur, I would cut out the shape of the dinosaur from a large sheet of underglazed transfers and then cut off parts of them that I want to match up with other parts. So it's almost like making a collage, like if you did an art class or anything, and you kind of mix match, you know, Britney Spears' head on The Rock's body or something like that. You have to make sure the angles work right. It's not.
Is that what we can expect from the next Adam Bob?
Maybe that might be fun. But yeah, I did that, and then once it was fired, bisque fired, should I say, all of the underglazed decals were transferred onto it and not going to smear off or anything. And I came back and I kind of watercolored all the details into all the dinosaurs and gave them different colors, and kind of give it like this. That one's probably up there on my list too of my favorite Atom Bobs I've made, because it just has like this, to me, super late 80s, early 90s dinosaur blanket feel. Like I think my older brother, had a dinosaur blanket like that, like just that kind of watercolor with like a muted green as the base color. So it's just nostalgic to me on that one.
I love it, dude. We are running on overtime. I feel like I could talk to you for hours more.
Likewise.
But we try to keep it semi-concise. So we do have a mug to give away, but before I give away the mug, I got one last question for you.
All right, hit me.
We talked a little bit about it, but what's next for Coxswain Dunsel? We got Lord of the Bobs coming up.
Yep. So plan is Lord of the Bobs is going to be next. And I'm going to do a run of those. So it'll probably be, since I don't do a lot of pre-orders, but on mugs like this, where I'm not going to change the variants from mug to mug.
Yeah.
That's why I don't do pre-orders on like Atom Bobs. But for that, I'll do a pre-order pretty soon once I have the silicone molds done. And then I'll have another batch of Atom Bobs done probably before the holidays. So that will be something to look forward to. Maybe snag it for someone who's been wanting to get an Atom Bob for a while before Christmas. And then by the spring, I'll have the Mononoke Nut ready and a few other secret mugs coming.
Are they your mugs? Are you doing client?
Me and client for one, and then I have a secret one for myself. Yeah. So I try not to get too ahead of myself and have like so many orders. And I apologize to anyone who's reached out to me for making mugs, which has been numerous, but I can't take on a ton of projects all at once. I'll tackle one thing at a time, and once I have availability, I'll reach out to people who've asked. But yeah, just a few projects leading into next year, and then we'll see what happens.
I love it, man. If people want to stay up to date, they want to know the latest Coxswain Dunsel news, where do they go?
To my Instagram, which is Coxswain_Dunsel, or go to my website, which is CoxswainDunsel, all one word.com, and sign up for my newsletter. And I'll post anytime I launch a batch of mugs. I'll post at least a few days before the launch on my newsletter, just to let everyone know. So that's the best way to follow along. And
any tips and tricks for fast checkout?
Yeah, I've asked people who've been successful with this, because I don't know either. I've learned that you can do the sticker hack, which is have a sticker or something in your cart beforehand and get all of your information loaded. So whenever it pops up, you can quickly get what you want. That might work. Also, make sure you have like a PayPal or Stripe account. I think that's very crucial, so that you can, have your actual credit card information saved. It's not my website, obviously. It's through the hosting or whatever. Yeah. So you can check out quickly and not have to read and type all those numbers. But otherwise, know what you're gonna want beforehand. I think that's like what most people have died or lost a mug to. They're like, oh, I was indecisive for like 5 seconds and lost out on all. So if you just...
This is no time to be indecisive. This is a time to be
know
fast,
what you want.
to be quick, make decisions.
Unfortunately, it has to be like that for everyone who's trying to get one. And I know there's so many people who have reached out, who've tried for all 3 waves now unsuccessfully. So I'm trying to make more, so more people have a chance and can get one. And I'm not running out of ideas anytime soon, but it will take me time.
Love it. Okay, mug giveaway. I know people are excited about this mug. We've had more submissions for this mug than any other mug for 13 Nights of Tiki Frights, so that's absolutely crazy. But the gargoyle mug is going to... the winner ended up being selected from the website at random. So they submitted an inquiry through the website to win the mug. And the winner, their name is Melissa Horak. Horak, Melissa Horak. You have won this mug. Let us know. Send us a message if you're watching this. Otherwise, in a couple days, we'll probably send you a message. We wait a little bit just so that you can have the surprise if you're watching the video. Congratulations, you won a mug.
Such a cool mug, too. Such a cool mug.
Corey, it has been amazing.
Been a pleasure.
I'm going to have to fly out to Texas. I'm going to have to see you.
Absolutely.
It's been a great time. Thanks for joining us. I've been a big fan of your work for a long time. I love my Adam Bob. It's an incredible mug. Keep doing what you're doing. People love it. You see all the hearts on the sides. So thank you so much for letting us have some time with you for 13 Nights of Tiki Frights. And keep it going, man.
Thank you, Gabe. I'm honored to be on here, and I'm honored that you have a piece of my work. And I'm so stoked to talk in the future more and see all the other Nights of Tiki Frights. It's been super fun following along this year. So keep up the great work on your.
Tomorrow, thank you so much. I think tomorrow is Tiki Rob. We're going to be announcing the next giveaway momentarily. So refresh that website. It's going to be coming up. Enter the giveaway. The next one is sick. If I don't say so myself, you're going to love it. Thank you so much, Corey. Have a good night.
Thanks, Gabe. You too. Take care, everyone.